Hello again, this is Mark with Evo Ballistics, and in this video I'll show you the different shot modes of the EV Mark I. The different shot modes are actually one of the key features of the EV Mark I because it allows you to not just take single shots but whole series of shots without any work you have to additionally do to set up the EV Mark I during the shooting process. So the first way we do this is on the dashboard here. We have on the left side and the bottom here, we have the single, multi and AF position for this slider. Right now it's set to single, which means, of course, that once we press the arming button, we do a single shot and the system automatically displays the results of the shot right here in the center. And afterwards, it just remains in the disarmed mode as it is right now with the results displayed. When we switch from the single to the multi-shot mode, basically what this does is it adds single shots one after another. So basically we press the arming button, we take our shot, we get our results, and about 2 seconds later we get the armed status again, so we may take our next shot. This allows us to take about one shot every 5 to 7 seconds, which is about fast enough for just regular testing of ammunition. Of course you want to know after each shot what results you got. If you are more interested in a large number of shots, we have another way to do this. In that case, we have the multi-shot plus mode, which is a slightly adjusted version of the multi-shot mode, but instead of getting your results straight after the shot, you would get your results as a bundle afterwards, because we don't actually analyze the shot during the shooting process. And in order to access that multi-shot mode, we have multi-shot plus mode, I should say. We have two different ways to do this. Option one is right here on the dashboard, where we right now have the slider here set in the multi position. And if I double tap on this slider here, we can see that it now displays a plus. That means we're now in multi-shot plus mode. There's another way that I have previously mentioned in one of the earlier videos in the general settings. For that, I'll just go quickly back to the settings here, in our general settings, and we can see here in our system settings, in the multi-shot mode, that I can now select multi-shot plus here. What this does is that when we go back to our dashboard here, when I switch to single now, and then back to multi, it's immediately on multi plus. Not because I had multi plus selected beforehand, but instead because it's now by default the multi-shot plus mode. If I go back to single and were to switch again in the general settings to the regular multi-shot mode and switch to multi here, we can see we are now again by default in the regular multi-shot mode. This is something just to keep in mind if you prefer the multi or the multi-shot plus mode. Lastly, we have the AF mode, which stands for automatic fire. This is slightly different to the multi-shot plus mode in a way that in the multi-shot plus mode you are limited to a maximum of 1,200 rounds per minute of burst fire basically. This may be enough for most rifles, or actually all standard rifles, but some machine guns may have higher rates of fire. In that case you will need the automatic fire mode. The difference to the multi-shot plus mode here is that instead of measuring each shot individually, we have here a continuous measurement of up to 2.4 seconds of a continuous burst, and we can have as many shots within that series of shots as we would like. Of course, we are then only limited to at maximum 2.4 seconds, but we can go up to way over 3,000 rounds per minute in this case. Now that we have the different shots, shot modes explained here, let's go into how we analyze these shots. Because the single and multi-shot are very simple, we will skip those and do them in the individual analysis modes. Instead, we'll focus on the multi-shot plus and automatic fire mode. And the way we do this now is we go to our shooter's log here, and then we have access up here to our currently unprocessed files. As you can see, we have this unprocessed files icon here, and this means that here in our multi-shot plus mode shot series right here. There are, for example, 9 shots that were taken in July of 2024 that were not yet fully analyzed, and thus we have not actually got the data yet. But the shots were saved and we have access to it by just clicking on it, and it asks us whether we want to analyze these now or not. I'll click no for now. And as you see, we have for every series that we have had previously, we can do this. Now we have this AF button up here, which lets us access the automatic fire reports. And those are for both the automatic fire modes as well as for the multi-shot plus modes. So let's take a look here at, for example, this shot series here. We've got 5 shots in this series, and we were shooting an MP5 in this case. And we see that we have about 800 rounds per minute over here, and we have the average results down here. You always see the velocity for each shot, the time between each shot. Obviously, the first one doesn't have a time to the previous shot, the rate of fire, as I said before, and finally the distance the projectile will have traveled by the time the second shot then gets fired. And of course, you've got your averages down here. You can download this information simply via this export button, and you get a nice file that you can open up in Excel, for example, if you were to choose a way to display this information later on. You always also have the option here to compare these shots. So when I press compare, it lets me open up a second file. So let's take this one, which is from the same series, and we can see how each shot then gets compared between each other. And we see that we have a slight difference in time here between these shots. So we have about 20 milliseconds more, and we see that the rate of fire has then significantly dropped for this single shot here. And thus the rate of fire for the average will also drop. And this is a great way to just compare different rifles of the same make, just to see if there's a performance difference here. Finally, when we have, let's say, multiple unprocessed files that are still to go, we have this button up here. This sigma signifies the ability to process all unprocessed files currently. So if I click this, it asks me if I would like to process all of the currently available shot files. This is only used if, in case you have multiple shots done before and you don't want to wait during the shooting process. So you may take all shots during the time on the range and then process the information afterwards. And this is how you use the different shot modes on the EB Mark I.